Ever since I got bit by that spider, I've only had 1 week where my life has felt normal. That was when you found out.
When you botched that spell where you wanted everyone to forget that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, we started getting some visitors. From every universe.
Hello, Peter. You're not Peter Parker.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Dr. Otto Octavius.
Wait, no, seriously, what's your actual name?
There are others out there. We need to send them back. So, Scooby-Doo this crap.
You know, all this is kind of your mess. I know a couple of magic words myself, starting with the word please.
Please, Scooby-Doo this crap.
You're flying out into the darkness to fight ghosts.
What do you mean?
They all die fighting Spider-Man. It's their fate. I'm sorry, kid.
Yeah, me too.
Don't.
Look, there has to be another way!
There isn't. They're a danger to our universe.
You're not gonna take this away from me. Peter, you're struggling to have everything you want while the world tries to make you choose.
This is all my fault. I can't save everyone. What's happening?
They're starting to come through, and I can't stop them.
December 17th, exclusively in movie theaters. Tickets on sale November 29th. Spider-Man.
Welcome, everybody, to the new year, first show of the new year with myself and Dr. Kyle. This is a 3 Guys Rant -1. KB, the Trap God, was good with you. Happy New Year. Welcome to the show.
What's good?
So, this show, it obviously we started it by showing you Spider-Man Far No Way Home. We've both watched the movie and we're gonna do a spoiler talk. I did a non-spoiler version on the channel. It's somewhere. You can go watch it. I'll link it in the description. If you still haven't seen the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, because you know we still are in a pandemic, you can stop right here because we're going to go full spoilers in this and we're going to talk about the rest of the movie. Stop right here. In the description, there is the non-spoiler version of the movie. You can go watch it there and come back and watch this when you have seen the movie, or if you don't care for spoilers, keep going. Also, Happy New Year to you guys watching. Happy New Year to you guys who have subscribed to the channel so far. If you haven't, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much. 3 Guys Rant -1 is what we're going to be talking, is the show for today. We're going through some restructuring, right, Kyle? And
Yeah.
eventually we're gonna figure out the name for the show. For right now, it's 3 Guys Rant -1. But Spider-Man, no way,
No Way Home. These home names is like
bro.
killing me.
Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. But Spider-Man, No Way Home. What did you think when you finally saw it? It was all, you know, it's one of the movies that I think had almost no secrets because there were spoilers everywhere before the movie even came out.
Yeah, I think that's how
And then,
Sony marketed the movie. Like, hey, look, we're just going to spoil this movie and we're going to just do leaks. So that's how we're going to market the movie.
right. And they marketed up all the way to a $1 billion movie. So
Yeah.
the first $1 billion movie of the pandemic so far, the first $1 billion Marvel movie of the pandemic, the first $1 billion movie of between 2020 and 2021.
Hmm.
Yeah, so in 2 years, movie hadn't hit $1 billion. I think the
And
first
the
billion.
first movie that we saw movie tickets go on pre-sale for like $1,200. No, I'm not
Yes,
joking.
the
I'm really
ticket
not joking.
scalpers, the ticket scalpers, the people that were selling PlayStation 5s for $1,200 got hands on this and were selling tickets for $1,200. I really hope nobody bought a ticket for $1,200 because you'd be
Well, that's how I
fucking
feel about
dumb.
the PlayStation 5s. Like I hate people who are buying these PS5s for like 12 and $1,500 because
My bad.
you no, but I'm saying you
No,
keep
I'm
giving
saying my
these
bad
guys life.
because I was
You know,
one of those people. But that's besides the point. um, yeah, but in all honesty, we're here at this movie now. It's come out. Everyone is, well, mostly everyone, because there's still people who haven't seen this movie. People with small children haven't seen this. People with kids who can't get vaccinated haven't seen this. People in certain states with high vaccination numbers haven't seen not vaccination high Omicron numbers haven't seen this. So there's still a lot of people who haven't seen this movie. Granted the numbers this movie has done, but there's still people who haven't seen this movie up to this point.
yeah.
January 14th is the date, right? And there are people who haven't seen this movie. So we have to really
Did
move through
China
for
get
me.
it yet?
No.
So our biggest market in the globe hasn't
Yeah.
seen this movie
They
yet, and
haven't
we've
seen this
already
movie.
crossed $1 billion.
Yes.
Just pointing that out.
They haven't seen this movie, I think, because they're still dealing with you know,
Yeah,
their
but
own.
that shows how big this movie did. Like
I mean, but that
Endgame
shows how
needed
big the
China.
character is.
Yeah.
How big this character is. Um, I think it speaks more of the character than more so the movie, because we saw the movie, we liked it, and despite liking it, we still have issues with it because as good as the movie is, it's not a perfect movie.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, but what I will say though is this movie for me personally sits in the top 3 Spider-Man movies of all time.
Totally agree.
I'm not giving you the order of my Spider-Man movies of all time, but in my
Ah,
top
that
3
sucks.
Spider-Man movies I'm not doing that. My Spider-Man movies of all time, no order, is this movie, Spider-Man 2, and Into the Spider-Verse. I don't care what anyone says, that is a
Bro,
Spider-Man
I'm
movie.
with you on that whole list. That whole list, I'm rocking with you on.
No order, to be honest. I'm not giving an order. I will say there are things in this movie that Into the Spider-Verse did so much better. There's similarities of this movie and that movie, but there are things in this movie that happen so much better in Into the Spider-Verse for me
Hmm.
personally, just because of
Agreed.
how similar they are. Um, so where do we want to start? Okay, your thoughts on the movie. What do you think when you saw the credits and all the other stuff?
So I saw this movie twice. True
Oh,
story.
okay.
And first time I saw it, I was like, all right, this is a dope movie. And I thought it was kind of funny how they kept winking at the audience, like, look, we get the premise of this movie is dumb, right? We get that this whole thing is Peter Parker's fault. So what we're gonna do is look at the camera and wink
Mhm.
and go, I keep forgetting you're a kid. So that way you can't go, this is dumb.
Right,
Because you have
right.
to now remember, yes, this brilliant kid who does tons of brilliant stuff is amazing, amazing Spider-Man, is still a kid.
Mhm.
So rock with us on this one. We get it. We're going to give you a good movie. Just suspend belief on a lot of stuff because he's still a kid. Wink.
Right,
And they
right.
and they kept doing it. And I was like, okay. So I was what about on the first watch. And the again, full spoiler alerts, the death of Aunt May, it hit hard the first time around. And I think the death of Aunt May in this movie hit harder than it does in the comics. Like, so forget every other Spider-Man movie, forget anything else, like any other medium, like
Mhm.
it hit harder than it does in the comics because you've had time to develop some kind of a relationship with Aunt May as opposed to first few issues of a comic book, boom, dead. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
instead of
right.
like the first 15 minutes of a movie, boom, dead. Like no, you've actually seen Marissa Tomei and
2
what?
movies now.
Yeah, well, she was also in what's his
3.
name too. Yeah.
She was in not
She
in
was in
Captain
Civil War.
America. Yeah,
Yeah, she
she was
was
in
in
Captain
Civil War.
America, and that was it. She wasn't in any of the other movies. We didn't see her in
Well,
Endgame
she was standing
or
next to Spider-Man, well, Peter, and at the funeral.
Well,
And,
okay, I
but what I'm
guess.
saying is you've seen her several times in
Yes,
Peter's
yes,
corner.
yes.
So as Peter was developing as a high school kid, she was directly there. Like the
Mhm.
first introduction of her was in the crappy apartment because they went out their way to show you, hey, look, these people are poor. You know what I mean? And then you have
Right.
Tony inside of their apartment, and you have her making, I forgot, it was like a pecan something that Tony spit out or whatever, and
Mm,
like
I
they
think
they they
so.
went out their way to really get you to fall in love with this May and understand that relationship between Peter and May, all the way down to Peter learning how to dance or whatever in the Spider-Man Homecoming film. So they did a good job with that and creating like an emotional attachment with the audience, not just with Peter. So that way the impact of her death really hurt,
Right.
which I thought was great. That I was like, that's a real good blow that they did. And that was my first watch. The second watch, I kind of wanted to give Aunt May the finger, not in a sexual way, but more so. Well, like
That
no,
was
seriously, it's
very
like
bad.
you're kind of the reason why Peter was jumping into this bad decision to kind of rescue and save these villains. Again,
He's
great movie. Definitely probably my favorite Spider-Man movie in my top 2. Like, between this and
whoa.
Into the Spider-Verse, like, it's definitely in my top 2. The only reason why I demote Spider-Man 2 to the number 3 spot would be because I recently went back and watched it on Peacock, and dude, it was so much yelling into that movie. It was such a scream fest. Almost every female character that got more than 4 seconds of screen time was, I mean, 4 seconds of screen time was screaming to the top of their lungs for
I
some
haven't
reason.
seen that movie in so long. I might have
Yeah,
to
go back and
rewatch it.
watch it. It's like a very screamy movie.
We might do a
It's
Spider-Man rewatch show and then
Yeah.
just come talk about it. Start with Spider-Man 1 all the way through to this movie again. We might do
It
that.
was good. Like, still holds up. Still great movie. What they did with the animatronics, especially for that time when CGI wasn't nowhere close to where it is now, it's
Right.
still a great movie. But when you look at the top 3 and, like, you go back and watch it and, like, dude, this is a very loud, screamy movie, but I love the stuff they did
Turn
with
the volume
horror in that
down.
movie. Huh?
Turn the volume down.
No, you gotta watch it to see what I
No,
mean,
I'm
like,
not I'm not
every
watching
so
that
many
movie.
seconds,
It's a
Mary
loud
Jane
screaming
Watson
movie.
screaming at the top of her lungs, Otto Octavia's wife screaming to the top of her lungs that she's dying from glass cutting her apart, like, it's a very screamy movie, like, it's kinda, like, cringe on the low, but, it this one I really would it's in my top 2. I like, at any given second, I could switch between this being number 1 and Into the Spider-Verse being number 1, and it's hard.
Now that is a
Yeah,
debate.
it's hard to figure out which one is 1, which one is 2,
That is a debate.
and I think my
And
emotional attachment to Tobey Maguire is why I kinda wanna put this at number 1, you know,
oh no.
because I
See,
got a
when
closure to
when
that character in this
when we
movie.
do get into my issues, it's a reason why I'm not giving an order, and it's also
Mhm.
a reason why this movie can't replace Into the Spider-Verse when we get into my issues.
Yeah.
But for now, I can, yeah, because when Toby showed on screen, bro, I don't care what anyone says or how anyone feels about the Spider-Man movies, but when he came on screen, first of all, in the screening I was watching this movie at, when Tobey Maguire came on screen, when Andrew Garfield came on screen, oh my god, when Toby came on screen,
Nuts.
everyone my age went nuts
Yeah, nuts.
because
It
that
was
was
the
our
same thing in the
Spider-Man.
theater I was in. Packed
Yeah,
theater, and everybody like, "Oh my god, yes!" Like there was literally a round of applause. Like
hmm hmm
I was like, "Did he? Is he saying something? Can y'all please shut up? Excuse me, white people in
right.
the back,
I was
shut
I
up."
was so mad because I wanted to know if he was saying something, but no, I also understood why people felt the way they felt. Is like, this is our guy. Like I said, everyone my age, because we grew up on those movies, they were like, this is our guy, this is our Spider-Man. And
Yeah,
so everyone was excited for it. Andrew Garfield, I don't, for some reason, I never really connected to him because I was still very much, like,
Toby.
damn, Toby should have gotten Spider-Man 4. I was still very much on that train. I was sad. And so I never really connected to him. I never really let him, let his Spider-Man touch me. But I
Pause.
think because of that is
There's a reason why
why
James Franco
pause,
wasn't in the
pause,
movie.
pause. But the reason why I like this movie so much is because I feel like at the end of the day, it was a good Spider-Man 5. It was a good
Mhm.
Amazing Spider-Man 3, and it was a pretty good, Marvel Spider-Man closer.
Yeah, it
So,
definitely was.
yeah.
But here's where I run into issues. The MCU has done a real good job with ethical questions,
Hmm.
going all the way back to not Spider-Man, Iron Man 2, which the ethical question in Iron Man 2 was what gives you the right to have these Iron Man suits and you
Right.
privatize it in peace in contrast to everything else, right?
Hmm.
And what makes you morally just? And then so that's when the ethical questions started in the MCU, right? So we go through all these different things all the way down to privatizing superheroes, which be that as may, Civil War is all about ethics. Like it's all about what is morally right, what is ethically right. Was Peter not Peter was Steve right about not telling Tony that his friend Bucky murdered his parents? Was Tony right about how hard he went at his team about the Sokovia Accord? And really pushing for it. Was he right with siding with the government on this? Was Steve right with going into another country and fighting a whole nother country's law enforcement agency because his friend was wanted by this law enforcement agency, right?
Right.
And he's still wearing the stars and stripes from our country in another country doing something very illegal, very morally and ethically right and wrong questions. This movie does that two times. When the first time is when Peter does something real stupid. And like this is what really popped out to me on the second watch. Peter goes to Doctor Strange. Wants Doctor Strange to wipe everybody in mind of who he is because his friends are having a hard time getting into MIT. And they wouldn't have half that problem if they would have went to a HBCU. And, and they could have went to Morgan, go
No,
Bears.
seriously.
Um, but
Seriously.
dead serious, like they would have applied to Morgan, Howard, Coppin, Jackson, any of those colleges, they would have like,
They would
hell
have
yeah,
got
come on
in.
down here. We don't care about that
Yeah,
Spider-Man stuff.
we don't care about that.
Yeah, we'll see you. Come on, we'll take that money, and it would have saved money too. But
Facts.
yeah, they go to Steven. Steven says the most mature thing that anybody in our age group would have said. Dude, you didn't try to call to plead your case, which it tells the difference between that age group and every age group beforehand, and it's
Hmm.
not really their fault. We live in a weird age where everything's automated, digital. You have to keep pushing zero when you call something to actually talk to a person.
Yes.
Everything's even email. Like one of the biggest companies in the world is Facebook, and you can't even talk to somebody at Facebook corporate about anything. Like even if you get banned for like 7 days or something stupid for misunderstanding in a statement that you write, they just instantly ban you, and then it's up to them for whatever. Like you can't talk to nobody, right? So it
Hmm.
makes sense why in Peter's mind goes, "Oh, I could do that," because this age and time that we're in, there is nobody that this generation actually can
Yeah,
talk to.
we don't talk on the phone in this age. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more so it's all automated. So I get it. So
yeah.
the
So it
first thing
makes
that would
sense.
cross your mind is that, right?
Yeah.
Just wipe it. And Doctor Strange, like a magician, sorcerer supreme. Why would you even bother talking to someone on the phone when you could just wipe everybody's memory, just flashy thing everybody? Like, come
But
on
it
now.
comes to the question, like, why is this the right thing to do? Like again, tugging on what's moral and ethically right. Like, yo, so okay, so you're gonna take away my right to know something and erase my knowledge of something and everything that might be attached to you, either you being you being Spider-Man, you being Peter Parker, my friendship, everything, just wipe that and take my freedom and my right to something completely away, right?
Hmm.
You're doing that. So, and MJ, it's weird calling her that, but MJ goes to him and like, next time you want to do something like that, come and talk to me first about it, right?
Which is
Um,
fair.
yeah, which is fair. You would think this is a something that's learning is going to do some character building. No, later on in the movie, he does the exact same thing right at the end and does it again and goes to them like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go find you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you kind of should have fleshed that out a little bit more because he literally just did what y'all talked about in the first 15 minutes of a movie again at the end." It's like,
What's funny about the end of the movie, I feel like the first 15 minutes he did have a choice. I think they took the choice out of his hands in this one. They
but they
tried
could
to
have
make
just
it
pushed the
seem,
box.
yeah, but they tried to make it seem like they took the choice out of his hands. And I think the thing, more so moral question for me in this movie is, was it morally okay for him to try to save everyone? Was
That was
Aunt
my second
May's
point I was gonna get to.
was like the ethics of that whole, like, yeah, we gotta save and make sure they don't die, like that was the question. I was like, this movie's over in 35 minutes if all you did was send everybody right back to where they belong and the spell goes away. Or, like the whole we can save everyone. I think that didn't sit well with me.
No.
Um, but I guess we needed the movie to happen and we needed the other Spider-Man to be in the movie. So we had to. Ultimately, because now you are in a position where if you want to restart Spider-Man and you want to restart the Goblin, you have to use it. You have to use a different Spider-Man and you have
Mhm.
to use a different Goblin. You cannot use that universes, or you can't use, so Toby's story is closed forever. Like, in my opinion, it's done.
Yeah.
Garfield's might be the only open-ended Spider-Man movie story that's still out there because he still has other villains. And I think with the end of this movie, we kind of see a way for Sony to take Spider-Man out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but also with the mid-credit scene, we kind of see a way for them to bring a Venom into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. The way how this happened is where I have a real big problem with Aunt May. You're
Mhm,
talking about saving and curing people. Jamie Foxx character kind of pointed it out. Either I get this or you're going to send me back to die, right? So you're giving people a choice without really giving them a choice, which isn't fair to them. Secondly, which you're taking away their identity,
mhm.
because you know what's right for them. Again, going back to the same issue that happened at the very beginning of Iron Man 2. Secondly, you're if you are successful in curing these people, as they stated, you're sending them right back to the point that they died. So now you're sending very innocent people. So you're sending a person with dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality disorder, for those that don't know what that means, and that being the Green Goblin, right back to the part where the glider was going to cut him in half. At this time, he's completely normal. So you're sending a completely normal person to his death the moment he's about to die. You're sending
Right,
Otto
right.
Octavius a
It's funny though, because when you send them back home, what point do you send them back to?
they're going right back to that right
Exactly.
part. So
Are
it was
you
so when you said Toby Maguire's story's done, I'm like, hold up, let's think about this for a second. Because now you have now made Toby Maguire a legit murderer. Well, that Spider-Man a legit murderer. And he didn't even mean to do it at this point. Double time now, like with Green Goblin and now with what you call it, Otto Octavius, but his story is somewhat different, like, but you cured this guy at the point where he's now drowning, holding this thing that can power the sun or something like that. Also, you kind of affect James Franco's character Harry, because Harry's whole motivation to help Otto Octavius has now been blurred,
Yeah,
which create
it's a mess.
yeah. So now you
You
destroy the
you
whole
create
universe, right?
no,
You
but think about it though. So Marvel is really trying to push this multiverse theory, right? Especially at the end of Loki, we saw, the branches and everything. So now are you saying, like, with what we know from Endgame, you're not necessarily sending them back, you're creating a whole new timeline.
which creates a whole nother group of issues. Is Spider-Man a murderer? Mind you, that universe of Spider-Man wasn't it isn't pulled from that time where these events happen. So that universe of Spider-Man doesn't know that these events happen in that split second when they're gone and they come back. and now these innocent people are dying. Like when Jamie Foxx character is overloaded with electricity,
Mhm.
like, oh, now a completely innocent human being just got overloaded with electricity, not some overpowered being.
But since we're creating new branches, right? Let's just use the endgame theory here. I think that's what we're supposed to be watching this movie with, the endgame theory,
Mhm.
right? So it's endgame, yeah. So we're creating a whole new bunch of timelines. Let's just say you send them back, but when you do send them back, you're not sending them back to the moment they died, because at this point they're not the same persons they were when they came. They're not the same evil villains. They're all cured. For starters, Electro is no longer is Electro, which whatever. So you're sending him back to a world where he's normal. He might not be going. So you create a new branch, right?
Mhm.
Where Electro still dies, right? But then this version of Electro is alive, or this version of Jamie Foxx's Electro is alive, right? With not, but the thing is, you're sending him back with knowledge.
Yeah, so now he knows what an arc reactor is.
So the other question is, are you sending them back with knowledge? So there's so many questions if you decide to really, really deep dive into these movies, right? Like a lot of people don't. A lot of people just watch the movies. Again, this is a good movie. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a
There's
good movie. It just
the movie's not asking you to deep dive into it, but we are, of course, we do what we do. We're going to deep dive into it. Are you saying right now that this Electro or this Jamie Foxx character that you're sending back has the knowledge of everything that's going on in this other universe, or do they not remember?
I don't
Because, and
know
this this
because
this is what I'm
they
saying.
didn't clarify.
If you go by Into the Spider-Verse rules, right? So now we're using Spider-Man rules, because Into the Spider-Verse rules has set up another set of rules, right? Into the Spider-Verse rule says everyone remembers what happened to them when they crossed into Miles Morales' universe.
Which makes sense. I don't think that you should take away somebody's memory of what happened.
Right. Um, and another reason why I think Into the Spider-Verse edges this movie a little bit is when um Miles Morales loses his uncle, the Prowler. I think him hearing this speech from his dad just makes it come, like, it makes it better than hearing it from, like, say, another Spider-Man. Even though, granted, all the other Spider-Man told him how to deal with loss, and they all dealt with loss, right?
Mhm.
But hearing that speech from his dad, to me, holds a lot more weight
Yeah.
of how to deal with what he's going to end up dealing with, loss in the future,
Into the
better.
Spider-Verse also did something which this Spider-Man movie couldn't do. They showed the importance of a black father with a black son dealing with a very traumatic event. No, you're laughing. Like
Jamie
this
Foxx
Spider-Man
did
couldn't do this.
mention.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx did mention.
Yeah, he did
Ain't
mention
no black Spider-Man. So that's out there
Spider-Man
in the
went out there
universe.
somewhere. You know what I
It's out
mean?
there.
Like,
It's out there. They just didn't go to Harlem. He's in Harlem. They just didn't go to Harlem yet.
yeah, I mean,
But no,
Prowler does exist in this universe. Just putting it out.
yes, yes, he does. He was in Spider-Man, the first one, right?
Yep.
Homecoming. But no, so this Spider-Man movie does open up a bunch of questions that I think are going to kind of be answered in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Why I say I think, right? Because for the most part, there's a lot of things, a lot of threads that have been pulled that we don't have answers to. We may not even ever get answers to ever again from this cinematic universe. They're
Yeah.
gonna keep moving on in their multiverse, right? That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna with again, because I think at the end of this movie we got the Venom thing tease, and then we got the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness teaser
Trailer.
trailer,
Yeah.
right?
Like, so this is definitely the direction they're going. We know we're getting Kang. Allegedly, that movie just wrapped up. The Ant-Man Quantum.
Quantumania,
Yeah. Allegedly, that just finished wrapping up with filming.
yeah. Doctor
So
Strange finished all his reshoots, and we're gonna get that moving forward. Benedict, and the thing I think the other question is, right. So I know for a fact that I know that evil Doctor Strange in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it cannot be the one from What If. You want to know why I think it cannot be
it
that one?
can't be that one. It doesn't
The
make
reason
sense for it to be that one.
it doesn't make sense for him to be that, because he has to watch Ultron in the micro universe.
Hmm.
That's his job now.
Yeah, they're in a stalemate.
Yes, they're in that micro universe, and he has Ultron stuck in the micro universe, so he can't leave that to go be evil somewhere else. He can't do that. This is probably something else.
I think that stalemate is supposed to represent. Uh, you ever read any Sherlock Holmes books by chance? Just out of
No,
curiosity.
no.
There's one book where him and Professor Moriarty are caught into a stalemate. Like they match each other so well, and they
Mhm.
show like how they cancel each out and match each other out. So they're caught into like this one move, and because this one move they're caught in, like neither one can give the other one leverage. So like they're stuck in this move for all of time until they die. Like basically, like so.
Okay.
I think that was this. That was what
What
his
if?
way of going. We're going to show what this looks like on screen, and it was cool.
Well, I can see that. I can see it was definitely cool. It was definitely cool. And I'm saying like, because I think there's a lot of noise on the internet that it's the one from What If, but it's not. It
It
can't
can't.
be. If he leaves, you end up making a whole mess.
Like,
And I
and plus,
think
do you want to bring back Aaron Zola that bad? Do you want to bring back Ultron that bad? Which I'm all for at some point in time bringing back Ultron. Like I am
I
because
have
I would
I
love
have
to
a
have a
problem.
redeemable Ultron movie.
It's funny because I have a problem with that show and that Ultron and what he did to Thanos, and
That I have a problem with,
it
right?
didn't make sense.
I
I'm
have a problem with
sorry,
what they
but
did to Thanos in that show. Like
it
they
didn't
made
make sense.
Thanos a joke. I really didn't
Yeah,
like
it,
that.
it
Like
didn't it didn't make sense. Like you set up Thanos to be this great evil, right, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, only for him to
either be
end up
funny with
being.
T'Challa or be
But no,
sliced
no, no.
in
I
half.
didn't mind. I'm saying the Thanos in the version of that Ultron universe. Remember, because Ultron gets
Sliced him in
the
half.
how, bro? Fully gloved up Thanos, bro. Not even like half, not even like missing stones. That was fully gloved up Thanos.
Wait,
No,
didn't that Thanos not have the Mind Stone that
he
Ultron had?
he he was fully gloved up when he came to Earth.
I gotta go back and watch that because I was like, I thought Ultron still had the Mind Stone. That's why he was able to cut Thanos in half.
Still, bro. Still, I didn't know. But no, so
Huh.
Spider-Man, No Way Home ends with him sending everybody back, like sacrificing himself, which, is the story of the Spider-Man. Every time he sacrifices himself and something crazy happens, but this time he decides to sacrifice himself where no one will remember him. Even the Avengers, and I believe that is Sony's way. To me, when I watched that in that moment, I was like, yep, Sony just decided we're taking Spider-Man back. But in the same vein, they are leaving a Venom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We don't know what they're going to do with that moving forward yet, but he exists. Because Eddie Brock went back to his
Yeah,
universe, I
Eddie
think.
Brock and Venom went back, but part of Venom stayed by mistake, basically, in
Yeah,
that bar.
so it's weird because we don't have the Eddie Brock in this universe, right? Or we haven't met him yet, right? Oh, where'd you go?
Going on. Oh,
Oh,
hey, here we go.
you're back. Yeah, we
Yeah,
haven't met Eddie Brock in this universe yet, right?
which is weird because J. Jonah Jameson appears to be a totem in the universes.
Right, because he exists in everybody's universe, which is weird to me. It's the exact same J. Jonah Jameson. You could have at least, you know, but what would have happened if Toby Maguire and what's funny is Toby Maguire never gets to see J. Jonah Jameson.
That's weird. There's a few things I thought was weird. Like they talk about the aliens at that fight, but they never go, "Yeah, this is what it is. This is Venom." Like it's a legit threat to you. Your spider
It's a
sense
black.
can't deal it.
Oh, I thought this black goo, really, nigga. Like that's the best you got for me. Um,
I think there's a lot of things that they could have had up. Yeah, I fought my best friend. He died in my arms. Like, no, nigga, say his name. His name is Harry Osborn. You might want to mention that because two Spider-Men already fought Harry. We don't know if Harry
but
exists in this
no, there
universe.
is apparently he doesn't because when the first thing I think what's his name says, Osborn says is my building isn't here.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't.
it doesn't exist. There's no
But does
Oscorp
that
in this
mean there's
universe,
not
so
a
you have to
Harry
ask.
Osborn though? Does it mean
There's no Oscorp in this universe, so you
there's
have
no
to ask
Oscorp,
yourself.
but is there a Harry Osborn?
Where I'm going with that is no, there isn't. And reason I feel that way is because you have to ask yourself who created the spider that bit um This
Peter.
version of Peter. It could be, in my opinion, Tony Stark, which
It
is
could
probably
be
why Tony Stark felt very attached to
beholden
him.
to him. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like fuck, one of my mistakes, one of my experiments created you, so now I have to be here for you. It's weird. I enjoyed the movie though.
I
It's just
do
when you
want to
start
know who
asking,
created
it's just
that
when you start
spider.
asking questions, huh?
I do
Right?
want to know who created that spider. Like Reed wouldn't have created that spider. Like it
No,
wouldn't make
he
sense because he
doesn't
doesn't do that kind of
exist
research.
yet.
I think he exists now. I think Reed's
No,
existed for a while, but Reed doesn't do that kind of research.
but where would he be? Aren't they based in New York?
They are,
There's
but
no there's
hear me
no
out.
way, there's no way if Reed and the Fantastic Four existed, even if it was just Reed, that everything that happened in this universe with Ultron, I'm sorry, with Ultron, with
If they was
Thanos,
in a different universe. Remember, Reed was the person in the comics who discovered the microverse, which we call a quantum realm, right? So
so you
he's
think Quantumania is how we get Reed?
I think we're going to get some form of iteration of Reed either on Quantumanium or Doctor Strange's movie.
That's gonna be interesting.
Because the whole thing of the Fantastic Four is they explore. Like
Because
that
if so you're saying they've been here the entire time, but they've been in the quantum verse
they've been in different verses, multiverses.
because if they were in the quantum realm, right? The quantum verse, um Ant-Man would have seen him.
Would he though?
Yes.
Because they didn't even go to the city that's inside of the quantum realm yet.
But
There's a
then
there's a whole city
what
in there
about
with
the
Annihilus and
Wasp?
everything.
What about the original Wasp?
It's a whole realm, dog. Like it's
Bro, it's
you know, a realm is basically a universe, right?
right, but at some
So
points, right?
you know how many planets are in each universe? So it's plausible to believe that
Nah,
Wasp
bro.
didn't cover a
Not
whole
not
universe
not
in
this
her.
Marvel. Not this I'm sorry. Look, I believe you, but not this Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think they expanded or they're going to expand their universe that big. That might be their
They have
explanation.
to. It's
That
they have
might be the explanation though. That might be
yeah.
the explanation, but I'm not gonna buy it. I'm sorry. I'm just
I'm
not gonna
willing to
buy it.
buy that just because if somebody goes, "Oh, this person's in a universe," I could go, "Okay, I could believe that." Why? Because
Nah,
there's some
I'm not gonna
they've
buy it.
already
I can't buy
they've
it because
already they went out their way to show, dude, there's tons of planets out here with life on it in this universe, right? They've done that in Guardians. And they talk
Mhm,
about how you have to go through several jumps to get to different pockets of the universe and just
mhm.
the MCU proper just in the main Imma just say
Yeah, I think it was
616
Guardians
universe.
2, right? When they're
Yeah,
doing
so
all those jumps. Yeah,
they
yeah.
they so, like, they covered their bases, you know what I mean? Like, kinda like the
Man,
look in your face and wink, like, "Hey, look, we could
nah,
do this so that
bro.
way we could
I'm
tell other
not. They,
stories,
they they can sell that. They can sell you that.
and I'm
I'm just
willing to
not
buy
buying
it."
it. I'm not buying it. There's so many things
Yo,
I'm gonna
that's
buy
like
from the
that's
Marvel Cinematic
if you're
Universe,
not
but
willing to
I'm not
buy
buying
that,
that,
how
bro.
can you buy aliens being able to speak English and come to Earth and they speak English and you know what they're saying?
And again, it's that I just that's
You
just
get what I'm
movies to
saying?
me.
Like, you can
That's just
buy
movies.
one, but you
No, no,
can't buy
no,
the
no,
other.
no, 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 no. Hold on. That's just movies to me. That's also comic book to me.
But
But
you're willing to buy that.
the reason I cannot buy that the Fantastic again, it's the same reason. It's the same reason. Hear me out. It's the same reason when we watch Eternals, when they said, "Yeah, we're been here the entire time, but we just decided not to jump in and help because Thanos had to happen." But in their same movie, right? In that same
Mhm.
movie, they tell us that the
Deviant.
reason why they didn't help was because Thanos had to happen, right? One. Two, they also tell us that they are needed as population control, right?
Yeah.
They have to keep the population growing. If right, for some reason they were here doing the Thanos thing. Why didn't they help? Because if Thanos wipes out 50% of human race, that Titan cannot be born. Is it a Titan or the thing, right?
It's the, what you call those things? The Celestial.
The Celestial cannot be born. Bro, miss me with the Fantastic for existing. They're gonna have to come up with a way to explain why everything if they existed from the beginning of the MCU, you're gonna have to come up with an explanation why you did not help in the Battle of New York. Again, the Eternals did not help in the Battle of New York.
The
They did
Eternals
not
suck.
help with Ultron. They did not help, in any phases of the look. Listen, I don't want to hear it, bro. that's why I didn't buy the Eternals movie as a whole. I liked certain things that happened in that movie, like the speedster. I love the run of the speedster. I'm like, oh, look at this shit. Are you telling me Justice League couldn't do this shit? But whatever. But what you're saying to me is we had to buy that they were here for 7,000 years and everything happened and Thanos happened and they decided not to help, even though their whole purpose is to defeat things that are trying to kill human beings so that we can keep growing as a population.
Yeah,
Miss me with that.
dude, the movie sucked. And so here's the thing.
Okay,
And
here we go.
this kind of circles back to this No Way Home. So right now, Marvel and Sony are trying to push for this movie to receive an Academy Award or Oscar, right?
Mhm.
I don't think that this is an Oscar-worthy movie. I love
No.
this movie. It's in my top 2, but I don't think this is an Oscar-worthy movie. It's just not.
Mhm.
Like, it's emotional to us as fans, but I don't think that when you look at the movies that are up for Oscars, this isn't in the same category. Which you could disagree with me. I'm fine with that, right? I think the time when Black Panther came out, Black Panther was appropriate, even though if it would have won, I would have kind of cried foul. But at the time, the story of Black Panther and a lot of the movies that came out in that year, it made it easy to put that in that running.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but this movie, Far From Home, No Way Home, it doesn't, it just doesn't fit.
But there was a
But
way home. Never mind. I'm kidding.
well, yeah, you're right.
Multiple way home.
But
Like
yeah, it was multiple. There were multiple homes. So he wasn't even homeless. Well, technically he was. Again, another issue with MJ, not MJ, Aunt May. You're gonna break up with a guy and then go to his apartment and then have
yeah,
evil villains
that
go
shit,
to his apartment after you just broke up with this guy.
bruh. I would have been
Ah!
like, get out. I would have been
Anyway,
like, get out my place.
she's like the biggest Karen in the world. But that's beside the point. Um, what's his name? I feel like not Guardians. What's the name of this movie? Not Inhumans. Uh, the Eternals. I feel
Eternals.
like yeah, Eternals was. I think Marvel was going to try to push for this to be their Oscar, like their big. This is our movie of the year Oscar. Like
If
you
it
could look
did
at
well,
yeah, if it did well, like they were pushing for this real hard. Like they even kept pushing it back because they didn't just want it to go out in digital release. Like they knew what they wanted. They shot this with the IMAX Max camera.
mhm.
Like it was like this one of these very expensive cameras that you shoot movie theatrical movies. They went out their way to sign certain actors and producers just for this movie. The score of it was really good. Like they went out their way for the score of Eternals. Like there was
Mhm.
a lot of things they did to push for an Oscar. The movie just wasn't a good movie. It
No,
didn't
it
hold up
wasn't.
to.
I think
It wasn't
someone
a
called it
Marvel movie.
someone
You like
called it a DC Snyder movie
what's
in the
crazy is
review.
I feel like Snyder would have did a better movie than this. And y'all know, anybody who's been following the show knows I will go at Snyder all the time. And that's not me actually giving Snyder credit for anything.
It
It's
sounds
saying
like you're
how
giving him
bad this
credit for
movie
something.
was. Like Snyder would have this movie should have been it should have never happened. This
This
is
movie should have been a 6 episode Disney Plus hour long
that
epic.
exactly.
6
This was
hours. The
this
first
was
two
Marvel
episodes would have
flexing.
been yeah, the first 2 episodes would have been like about the deviants and them
Yeah.
killing deviants and them getting to Earth. The next 2 episodes should have been about character building, like
Yeah.
how about everything that's happened and where have these characters gone to? Boom. The last 2 episodes would have been the finale of the movie.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to end it, you didn't have to give us a 2 hour, 2.5 hour movie,
This
a
movie was so
6 hour
messy.
epic because the editing was choppy. It was just a 6 hour epic. I think if you sign all those actors, right, with two of them from Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie, Cersei was already Minerva from um um the other girl movie,
Hmm.
Captain Marvel. So that's 4 huge faces already, right? You have 2 Game of Thrones characters. You have Angelina Jolie. Then you have Nigel Kumani, which again, you should have fleshed out his Bollywood character. That is a thing that people would have loved to see.
Yeah.
If that was
And like mind
if
you,
he,
he was my favorite character in the whole movie, to be
if he was
completely
supposed to be
honest.
the
Him and
comedic
Paperboy.
relief, right? If he was supposed to be the comedic relief, you should have fleshed his character out a little bit. Paperboy, again, you showed him on his knees during, I think, Hiroshima or some bomb. It was Hiroshima,
Yeah.
right? Because he helped develop. But we don't know what he has done. Like, technological advances came from him, obviously, but we don't know what he's done. So my thing is, a lot of these characters needed
Fleshing
more
out.
time,
This should have
more
been a
time.
Disney Plus series.
6 hour, 8 hours,
But
fine,
this
because
is
there's
what
so many
happened.
characters. So 8 hours, and then the girl Sprite who just didn't want to be a kid anymore. Oh, that's her only storyline.
Yeah.
Like, come on now,
Show what that means to her. Like, don't just go, "Oh yeah, I know you love him."
boom,
You know what I mean? Oh, that's our character building right there. Like, no, that's not character building, yo. That's lazy writing. But
exactly. And so you had so much, and then the character I didn't even care too much for was what's her name?
there was a
I,
lot of
f-
them.
I forget that she was still in this movie because she dies. I think, what's her name again? Help me
Ajax,
out. Yeah,
uh, it doesn't matter. The movie sucked.
not
Like,
Penelope Cruz, the other one. Jesus Christ, I just did that. But no, I didn't care about her character. So there's so much you could have done in this movie to show. And then again, when you want to show Icarus and why he turns or why he believes, it can't be done in 10 minutes. You know, you can't just show him in 10 minutes saying, "Oh, I believe this and I want to continue the story. I want to continue my job."
we have to create some kind of dilemma with progress in this plot. So this is our lazy writing and doing this. Dude, I'm a writer. So obviously I know how this goes.
And you just
And
made him Superman. You really made him Snyder Superman, bro. Very
yeah,
depressed, very angry.
very very I'm morally correct, even though my
Right.
moral correction is morally gray, but I am motivated by loving this one person. That's my touch to being somewhat close to humanity,
Made
you
no
know?
fucking sense, bro.
Yeah.
Made no fucking sense. And then outside of Paperboy's powers and maybe the Speedster's powers and Druid's powers, I don't know what Cersei was doing. I don't know what her powers were. Um
Druid, I feel like I would love to see
Druid, you
more.
never fleshed out anything he
Yeah,
did.
and I wanna see more Druid in the MCU, believe it or not. Like, he's
But
one character I would like to see more of just because of how bitter he is, but he's morally correct in his bitterness, if that makes sense.
it
You know what
does.
I mean?
It
So it's
does.
like, I would love to see that character fleshed out more, just because I feel like the way how they did Druid is how the MCU should handle Magneto.
So this is where you're going with this, huh?
Yeah, because
This
so
is where
you and
you're
I
going
text
with
last
this.
night. So to
This is
all the
where you're
listeners
going with
out
this.
there, all the
I
listeners,
didn't
right?
care about his text because what I wanted him to text me about was Peacemaker, but no, he
And we're
wanted to
going to
watch
talk
this
about that on
shitty
the
ass
next
movie.
show. Stay tuned, guys.
He wanted to watch this shitty movie.
Yeah, because I wanted to rewatch it because there were 3 movies that came out last year for
Hmm.
Marvel, right? There was
Yeah.
This
And
Garbage, there was No Way Home, and there was Black
there was
Widow.
a Chinese.
No, there was
No,
Shang-Chi.
four
There was
movies. It was
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. Yeah.
There's 4 movies, right? So
Yeah.
I was very hard on Black
Three which
Widow, right?
nobody cared about.
Right. I was very
Other than
hard on
Spider-Man.
Black. So for those that don't know, I was very hard on Black Widow when it
For
first
those
came
that
out.
don't know, really.
Right.
We
So
did a whole show.
I know. So I'm pointing it out there in case those that don't know didn't see that show that we talked about. So I was hard on Black Widow, right? I gave a real good review of Shang-Chi, and I just really we didn't even this is how much we didn't care about Eternals. We didn't even cast on it.
No, we
So
didn't. We didn't. We
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, that's how much we really didn't care, right? So and we did and here we are with the Spider-Man review. So when I went back before I saw No Way Home, like the day before I saw No Way Home, I went back and watched the Black Widow movie. And I was like,
Mhm.
dude, I was wrong. This movie is way
I
better than I
told
gave
you.
it credit for.
I
You
told
were
you.
right. I'm saying it publicly. He was right. So he was completely right. The movie was really good. And I was completely wrong in how hard I was on a movie, right? So I was like, let me go back and watch Shang-Chi because I gave Shang-Chi a higher marking than I gave Black Widow. And I go, oh, no, this was not better than Black Widow by a long shot. I do like some things about this movie, but this is not as good as what I tried to say it was. It's definitely not. So I was
I'm
like,
glad.
let me watch Eternals now that's on Disney Plus because it came out on Disney Plus. Maybe I was wrong about how bad it was. I was not. was not. It was worse actually because Disney owns Fox, and the X-Men movie is going to come out, and I have huge concerns for how this X-Men franchise is going to be handled. And I feel like there's only a handful of producers under the House of Mouse that could really handle a superhero team. One is Joss Whedon, who's canceled, so he's off the board. The other is the Russo brothers, which I think they're done at this point in time with anything related to Marvel. And the third one would be my guy James Gunn, who is by far one of the best superhero producers out there. And I don't think that remember they fired him for some old tweets like from like almost a decade ago
No, but
and
he
then
came
hired him
back.
back.
He came back
I
to
know they
do it.
hired him
Yeah, he
back,
came back to do
but
the
what
third.
is his willingness to continue working with Disney? You get what I'm saying?
Why? Because
Like,
you think DC's giving him a full because of Peacemaker. You think DC's giving, or rather because Suicide Squad and now Peacemaker. You think he's giving him full reign, like do what you want, how you
yeah,
want. You know, you
I
think
feel
that's
like
what
they're
it
going to
is?
kind of give him the kind of range that Marvel did with the Russo brothers in a way. Like, hey, look, we trust you. You know, you have a direction. We like the direction you're going. We need you, and we're willing to back the brink truck up for you and pop this bad boy open and give you money to help guide us in the right direction. Because I'm going to talk about this when we do cast on John Cena's show. Then that's what I'm going to call it, because John Cena better win an Emmy. I swear to God,
Oh,
John Cena
he
better win an
should,
Emmy.
man. He
Yo,
should.
but the way the direction he's going with this, his usage of color, like watch it. You'll understand what I'm saying, or watch Suicide Squad. This guy, or watch the two Guardians movies. The way how he uses color is amazing. Like it's
Mhm.
just amazing. It's just different, and it's real. Like this guy just has a grasp. He can handle teams. Like he knows how to flesh out characters. He knows how to get different beats. He respects the comic book material. He's a Hollywood guy that understands comic book material. That's a hard thing to balance with producers. He's one of them that can do it. Joss Whedon was another that could do it. There's only a handful I think that really can do it, especially with team up movies. We've seen this with when with the X-Men movies. How many were actually done right?
Three of
X-Men
them, I
2,
think.
X-Men
X
2,
two,
X-Men First Class,
First
and Days of
Class,
Future Past.
Days of Future. Yeah, I think the Matthew Vaughn First Class is might be the better of all three.
Mhm.
Um, my problem with First Class, my problem, and I think everybody's problem with First Class was the superhero that can't necessarily get hurt dies.
Yeah, but I mean, they wanted here's the stupid thing about it. They wanted to check a box, right? Oh yeah, look, we
Mhm.
got a black character.
Black
Hey,
character,
look, black
yeah.
people, don't call us racist because we're Fox. No, this 21st century Fox. We're different. We're the good Fox. See, look, we have a black, and our black is super powerful, and he can't die, but we are going to kill him for a very dumb reason. Because we checked a box and we wanted to insert black person here. But mind you, that's another issue I have with Eternals. With the now we're not just checking one box; we're going to check two boxes with
Two
our black
bosses,
character.
yeah, with our
Yeah,
black
so
character.
yeah, but I'm not
Look,
going to get into that because we're going to get a lot of hate mail and get threatened to be canceled
is
for
there
telling the
anything
truth
else? Is
because you
there
can't
anything
tell the
else
truth.
that can be said about this Spider-Man movie? Because I feel like we've exhausted it. We're starting to talk about a whole bunch of
Dude,
other
Mark
things
Webb
here.
did a great job. I'm going. So this is a good thing before we cut this cast about Spider-Man. Mark Webb did a great job
Mhm.
with a trilogy. He did a great job with Spider-Man. He captured a lot of real good great beats with the Spider-Man character, which is not really easy to do. And we learned this with the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Um
Right. I think the best thing he did right was having that ending, where it finally, so two things, right? Before we go, is I do have a problem with Marvel trying to sneak in, oh, he's finally Spider-Man, right?
mhm.
Reason I have because that's been a lot of people have complained, oh, this doesn't feel like Spider-Man. He feels more
since
like,
no
Iron
since
Boy.
Homecoming. Yeah,
Yeah, like Iron, he was like Iron Man Jr. Da 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 da. This, however, was the first Spider-Man Iron Man,
technology really.
without Iron Man in it at all. Like no Iron Man influence, no villains because of Iron Man. Because again, the first two movie Vulture was because of Iron Man, taking jobs away from a smaller company, and then you had um no Far From Home because
Yeah,
of Iron Man. So
Mysterio.
this was Mysterio. So this was the first time you didn't see that, right? There's no because of Iron Man, influence. And so it people who've had those complaints finally felt like, oh, finally we have a Spider-Man that's not that feels like Spider-Man. And I have a problem with that because he has felt like Spider-Man, granted not the traditional way, but he has felt like Spider-Man. And
He's
so
a kid.
Marvel tried to sneak that in, with that great fucking ending where he's in a different suit, a suit he makes for himself, in
Yeah,
his little apartment with the scanners and everything. It finally, because again, both of the Spider-Man grew up on had Spider-Man in his own apartment with police scanners, by like the end of first or second movie or whatever. It took all these three movies to finally get to that point. And I think that's what people are getting sold on. Oh, no, 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 no. Like, don't let Marvel trick you like that. He's always been Spider-Man. They
yeah, he's
just
been Spider-Man since day one. It made sense though. Like when we first met him, what he was like 15, 16 years old.
mhm, mhm.
Why would he have an apartment with the scanner at
And
15
he
or 16 years
wanted to
old?
be an Avenger. His whole
Yeah.
thing was wanting to be an Avenger. I think
You
now
wanted
it's
him
kind
in
of
this world. Iron Man is the biggest name in this world aside from Steve Rogers, right?
mhm,
And he's living in this world, which every last one of us fans at some point in time was screaming, "We want Spider-Man in this world. Why won't Sony play fair? You got him in this world. This is what it looked like for a 15-year-old kid to live in this world." It made sense. So Marvel and Sony got it right in that first movie. Like
yes,
what would these villains look like in this world that they live in with Tony Stark,
and the Avengers.
Steve Rogers, like what would that look like? Well, it made sense for one of them to be an arms dealer on the black market,
Mhm,
and it just so happens a lot of the tech was Stark tech and all kind
right,
of stuff from the
right.
Chitauri invasion. It made sense. Spider-Man historically has been a neighborhood Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's in bigger storylines, but he's a neighborhood crime fighter. He's just
And I
more
think and I
popular.
think because he's been in the bigger stories to be, a neighborhood friendly movie. He
Mhm.
hasn't had a neighborhood friendly movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think that's where people had a problem with. All his movies felt huge, all big
But he got
scale
thrusted
movies.
into the main event real fast.
Yes. I mean, again, I have no problem with him being in Civil War. I just why couldn't he have been, like, okay, bring him back down to earth, bring him back to neighborhood Spider-Man. I did, however, like the addition of Matt Murdock in the universe.
Hmm.
Don't know what they're gonna do with him moving forward, but I did like the addition of Matt Murdock. I thought it was kind of cool
Yeah.
to see Charlie Cox play Matt Murdock. I feel like if you were going universe bending, why not bring Ben Affleck? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, what is?
Yo, you're trolling hard today,
Oh,
yo.
but think about it, right? If we're doing all the universe shit, why not just have Ben Affleck walking in the city like Lost and bump into Matt Murdock? Just for like, it'd have been nice. It'd have been nice because I still think, as bad as that movie was, I think it had a lot of bright spots. I still like that movie.
One thing I liked about that movie was Michael Clark Duncan. That's it.
Wow,
Like
that's
actually, I
right.
bought the tape when the tape came out just
Yeah.
because I like Michael Clark Duncan in the movie. And it is part for 2 reasons. A, it was Kingpin, and Kingpin is probably one of my favorite comic book villains of all times.
Hmm.
And B, it was Michael Clark Duncan who, since Green Mile, I've loved as an actor. And it really sucked. And then we had a black Kingpin, which I thought was dope. Like, yo, you made one of the most insanely great comic book villains of all time black.
Hmm.
What?
The first time we
Say
got that,
word. You know what I mean?
yeah, keep it going. And granted, I do like the Netflix version, but I think Michael Clark Duncan did a phenomenal job as the Kingpin. So I don't care what anyone says, bro. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But no, thank you, Kyle, for taking the time out to discuss Spider-Man, uh, No Way Home, and a little bit of the MCU and some of the DCU and some other universes that we talked about today.
Yeah.
We did kind of branch a little bit into what Marvel can do with their X-Men universe or their Fantastic Four universe, even though I still don't believe it because of Eternals. Unless they figure out a way to fix what they did with Eternals, I'm not buying them bringing Fantastic Four saying they've existed. Like if they do that, it's annoying.
They're
Just
gonna do that with X-Men too. They're gonna find a way to bring them in and say that they already existed.
don't
I
do
just
that,
have
man.
I have
Don't
them
do
doing
that.
it.
Ugh.
But I'm scared for how Marvel's gonna handle the X-Men without either Josh Whedon, who's canceled, uh
You see,
James
bro.
Gunn.
You
Yo,
see,
I'm concerned.
'cause
I'm really
he had
concerned with the
he
state
has
of
a show
Marvel.
on HBO Max, bro.
Who?
Josh Whedon.
He
He produced
does?
the show on HBO Max last year. Yeah.
What show is it?
I will find the name for you. It's a period piece, but I will find the name. It was a solid show. It was a solid show that Josh Whedon produced. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But I think Josh Whedon would be great. Was John Favreau, I would have been all for, but he's doing
Mm,
Mandalorian stuff, which
he's doing Star Wars stuff now,
yeah,
and
I would love him just to focus on that.
yeah, stay
Don't
there.
worry about
Yeah, don't
Marvel.
bring
Yeah,
yeah,
stay there. We love you over there.
leave me there. But yeah, no. Thank you again. We will catch up for more comic book stuff in a bit. Thank you for watching. Again, this has been Three Guys Rant -1, taking
And
on
we'll have a new
Spider-Man.
name.
Yeah, we will. We will. Taking on Spider-Man No Way Home. Peace.